Fun fact, you can't get pregnant every day. You're only fertile for 6 days, ovulation day and the 5 days leading up to it. Natural Cycles is the only birth control app that can pinpoint your fertile window by analyzing your hormone-driven temperature trends. It's more than just a basic cycle tracking app. Natural Cycles is the only FDA-cleared and CE-marked birth control app and has helped millions prevent and plan for pregnancy naturally. Save 15% when you sign up today with code RADIO15. Learn more at naturalcycles.com.
Back together for another week on the official podcast of Minor League Baseball. Welcome into this week's edition of the show before the show. Tyler Mon, Sam Dykstra, Benjamin Hill. Fellas, what's going on? We're in mid-August. We're into like the home stretch of the 2025 minor league baseball season, as insane as that is.
Yeah, we got about 3 weeks left in the single A and high A seasons. About a month left in double A, and then about 5 weeks left in triple A, not counting postseason.
Yeah,
Obviously.
the way things are set up now, there's so many like little mini benchmarks along the way of like end of regular season and this level, like Sam said, then this level, then the other level. Meanwhile, playoffs in some levels are going on during the regular season, the other level. Then I personally have my own benchmarks for when I'm done with like all the content I got during the season, which usually lasts well into the end of the calendar year. But yeah, this has been a stressful season in a lot of ways for me, and some real highlights. But after I got back from that trip to Salt Lake City, way out west, Tri-City Dust Devils, Spokane, came home, turned pretty much right around and went to Altoona. And next week, a week from tomorrow, I'll be going to Ohio for Lake County Captains on August 22nd and Akron Rubber Ducks on August 23rd. And that'll be it for me for the actual on-location ballpark trips. So in the scheme of things, it's only a 4-month stretch in which I'm actively on the road, late April to late August. But man, it feels like double that in terms of just how condensed everything is, and got so much more material to get out. So I, for one, am happy to be in the home stretch. And kind of slow things down a little bit. But of course, we'll inevitably hit that point where we're like, I wish there were some games going on. And there still are games going on. Yeah. So what am I
There are.
about?
There
plenty of games left.
And we have much to discuss on this week's episode of the show before the show, and wherever you found us, thanks for hanging out with us in this week's conversation about all things minor league baseball. You can, of course, get in touch with us, podcast at milb.com. And with that, let's dive in. Benjamin Hill rejoins us from being on the road, and Ben, we have a new Crooked Numbers story up on through the site, through the newsletter, through everything else. Crooked Numbers, one of my favorites, regardless of what time of year, because there's always some good requisite weirdness. Give us some of the highlights of this latest edition of Crooked Numbers. Explain, if people don't know what Crooked Numbers is, it's like all of the oddest oddities that happen in-game in minor league baseball. Give us the breakdown.
Yeah, on-field oddities and absurdities. And some of these maybe we've mentioned along the line. This is for the month of July. Yes, I realize we are now into mid-August, but like I said, it's a busy time of year. There's some good highlights in here. Some of them you just kind of have to see the video, but I think probably for my money, the best pure, bizarre highlight from the month of July in minor league baseball was the Thunderbalk. You guys probably remember that. Pitcher for the Norfolk Tides, Roansy Contreras. Am I saying Rowan? Yeah. He was on the mound. I think it was first inning of the game against the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, and this massive clap of thunder hits as he's delivering the pitch. And in the midst of his delivery, he just like stops and steps off. There was a runner on third, and that guy scores because he was so flustered during his delivery when there was a huge clap of thunder. And that's the kind of thing you see the highlight, and you're like, well, I mean, anybody would have done that. Like, it was just pure human reaction. So your first thing is like, nah, that's just like a do-over for everybody. But the rules are the rules, as they say. And he had started his delivery.
That was very much a letter of the law, spirit of the law type of conversation.
Yeah. So, maybe they should have already delayed the game, given the thunder was that close and that terrifying when it boomed. But the game was going on, and he started his delivery, and he stopped it. Now that brings me to an item that's not in this month's Crooked Numbers because I'm covering July. This just happened recently, but about weird balks. And Sam, who was the 19-year-old
George
prospect?
Walkow of
Yeah,
the Chicago White Sox organization who was playing for Single A Kannapolis at the time.
that's right. He had a highlight that you probably saw where he tries to call time, doesn't get it, and then just with one hand on the bat, half-heartedly swings at the incoming pitch and ends up with a run scoring RBI infield single. Now, if you look at the clip, it looks like he called time, didn't get it, and then just decided to swing anyway. But why would you decide to swing with one hand and so half-heartedly? He barely even started running afterwards. And there was like chatter. It was a national story in the world of baseball. I was reading about it in the Athletic newsletter, and they were had it in a section of the newsletter that was like, dumb. Here's some dumb decisions, which I could see if you just saw this clip. But then Ben Weinrib, one of our colleagues, wrote a story about it, and he talked to
Walkow.
Cow, yeah, and found out more about it. That pitch had been called a balk before it was delivered. So he swung because he's like, it's a balk anyway, but let's just see what I can do with this. So it was actually, you could argue, a high baseball IQ play. I mean, that's how you look at it,
Yeah,
Sam?
I mean the parallel I drew, not to look at a different sport, but it was like if you know there's holding on by a defensive lineman, you see quarterbacks just chuck it downfield because the worst thing that can happen is that you throw an interception, but it gets called back anyways because of the penalty. With the balk already called, the worst thing that can happen is that he just like it gets called a ball anyway. So why not swing and see what happens? And
So
it's a
this
split
is
second decision.
this is a rare circumstance, and for those who don't know, so in this spot, the balk is effectively erased by the swing. Wouldn't the balk just make it a
Yes,
dead ball?
not in this instance.
Yeah,
Interesting.
but
We gotta we gotta
if
get
he had
a rules
yeah, but
supervisor
if
on.
he had like popped it out, like just like hit a little pop up back to the
Then
pitcher,
it defaults
then
back
that
to
wouldn't
being
have
the balk.
counted. Yeah, it's like this. It's just like you get a free opportunity,
Yeah.
and he somehow got an RBI one-handed little infield squib single.
I mean, because how often do you? I can't remember the last time I've ever seen this happen, to be honest with you,
Yeah,
where a
I don't know
balk
if
is
I've ever
called
seen
and they
this
still
happen. A balk
deliver the
that's
pitch.
called, yeah, but you still deliver the pitch and a guy can go through with a swing. I don't know if I've ever
Right.
seen that happen. It also just
Maybe.
I've been playing old man baseball for the last 2 years, and just the gap between me pretending to still be an athlete and still be able to do things like swing a bat and make contact with a moving baseball at 40 years old, and a minor league prospect who can just one-handed flare a single into and drive in a run. Like, man, I am so jealous of actual athletes.
Yeah, well, Ben Weinrib's article about this, I really give him credit because it wasn't just some headline, just like you won't believe this happened. It actually went into the specifics of how it all came about, and Walkow talks about how when he's in the cage, they have a machine that doesn't stop that doesn't stop, delivering baseballs between the players taking turns. So they would just get in the habit of like when walking to the machine, just like hitting the first ball that came to them, even if they weren't really fully ready to swing. And he credited that just like a goofy thing that they were doing circumstantially with giving him more of an impetus and awareness to swing like one-handed
That is
at a
very
pitch that he
cool.
wasn't really expecting. So it's a pretty cool thing. Anyway, the thunder balk of last month made me think of this anomalous balk from earlier this week. And when I was researching the thunder balk, I found a previous crooked numbers column from 2017, which I'd forgotten about this. Another weather-aided balk. Salt Lake Bees pitcher Troy Scribner, there was a runner on second base, and a gust of wind blew him off the mound, and he balked the runner to third after being blown off the mound by a gust of wind. So we saw the wind-aided balk in 2017. We had the thunder balk last month. We had this weird check swing balk that wasn't just last week. It's crazy. Another item I want to bring up is that going into this season, there hadn't been a perfect game in the minor leagues since Connor Gray threw a 9 inning gem for the Kane County Cougars September 1st, 2017. So there hadn't been any 9 inning perfect games since then, at least out of the complex leagues. None in any admission charging standalone operating entities throughout all of minor league baseball. And then the Greensboro Grasshoppers had three pitchers combined for a perfect game on July 4th. Then there was another perfect game 9 days later in the minor leagues, and it was once again a combined effort by the Greensboro Grasshoppers. So there hadn't been any perfect games in minor league baseball, the 9 inning variety, in 8 years. And then there were two in a span of 9 days, and they were thrown by the same team. And there's one pitcher who got in both games, Jake Shirk. So that is pretty remarkable. And, for context of how rare that is, there's never been a major league team that had two perfect games in the same season, let alone in a span of 9 days. And can you guys guess, bonus trivia, the closest together perfect games thrown by the same team in Major League Baseball history? It's not even close in terms of these guys doing it in relatively quick succession, though it was not in the span of a same season. It's in our
I'm
lifetime.
very confused. You said it's not close, but they're the
No,
closest.
sorry, it's not close in terms. No one else is even
No
close
other
to as
franchise is close
these
to this
two
many.
are.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, because there's only a couple dozen.
Is it like David Cohn and David Wells?
That's
That's it,
exactly what
yeah.
I was thinking. Yeah, David Cohn, David
Boom!
Wells.
Yeah.
Nice work, Sam.
Boom!
That was what, 97 and 98?
Either
90,
98 and 99,
98,
I want to say.
99? Maybe, yeah, it must have been 98, 99.
And that was just in a little bit more than a calendar year. So that's the closest you find. I mean, these are combined no hitters. There's more teams to draw from in minor league baseball. If we launch some in-depth investigation, which I'd love to do, but our time is already limited, we could probably find other examples of two teams or the same team having two perfect games in a fairly close span. But Greensboro Grasshoppers did it twice in 9 days, which I thought was pretty remarkable. And I think I'll just leave it there on the crooked numbers front. But Sam, I have a question for you. What does it mean when a player is on is it the development list?
The development list. Yeah, that's something that comes up every once in a while. It's probably a good opportunity to bring it back. The development list is something that's come out, I think, since COVID, is when it was first introduced, was coming out of 2021. And basically the concept is you don't want to send a guy down and you don't have a reason to put him on the injured list, but you also can't have room for him on the active roster. So you put him on the development list, which sounds bad. And in some cases, it kind of is. You put a guy on the development list to actually develop his skills. Like you're going to focus on the cage, or you're only going to throw bullpens for a week. You're not going to hit or play. In other cases, it's just like, hey, we don't want to send you. Like imagine the Rockies, right? They have somebody at AA who they want to keep around. They don't want to send all the way to Spokane and then send from Spokane back to Hartford in a week's time. So they'll put them on the development list. And the development list basically means you can hang out, you can be around, but you're not actively playing. So you remain on the team's official roster, but you're not active.
That's a good explanation because I was a little curious, and I bring it up because one more crooked incident from July. I believe it was at least the second time this season this happened in which a position player earned a save. It happened on July 23rd, an extra inning game between the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders and the Rochester Red Wings, where a catcher named Edinson Duran recorded the final out of the Rail Riders' 8-6 12-inning victory. So he's a catcher by trade and got the save as a position player. So I was like, oh, I'll write that up in crooked numbers. Then I looked up Edinson Duran, and he's listed currently on the development list, and he's only received 10 at-bats all year. He's a position player by trade. And then his save opportunity when he actually got his save on July 23rd, that was the only game he played with 2 weeks on either end of those games.
Yeah.
So I was a little curious about,
you'll see a lot
term, but what does that mean?
Second, backup, third catchers on the development list, just guys who can be around, work as a bullpen catcher, still be fresh with the pitchers and understand who they are, and be added at any time, but just not active. So especially you'll see that in the upper levels a lot more. You won't see a ton of guys carried on the development list necessarily at single A or high A. But at triple A or double A, where the guys are there as depth and you want them still around, development lists can be the way to go in these shorter spurts.
Well, there you have it. Edinson Jesus Duran. Jesus saves. He got a save. Despite his long stints on the development list, he was pressed into action in an anomalous way and got that save for the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders. And, Clayton Beater was one of the pitchers who threw for the Rail Riders earlier in that game. Then during that same series against the Rochester Red Wings, he was traded from the Yankees to the Nationals. So in the span of the 6-game series, I think the last time he played was in this Edinson-Duran game. Last time he played for the Yankees organization was on July 23rd. Then in the span of the same 6-game series, he's now a member of the Nationals organization pitching for Rochester against his former team. And of course, we get those kind of stories at the trade deadline every year. So there's a few of those in Crooked Numbers as well. I could go on and on, but I've already gone on and on. So check out Crooked Numbers in the Baseball Traveler newsletter and on MILB.com and MLB.com. And yeah, it comes out every month. So that was just recapping July. So we'll still have 2 more of those.
I always love Crooked Numbers. There's so much weirdness every season in minor league baseball, and it's so much fun. And moving along, we have multiple upcoming rebrands, Ben, that have been announced. One for 2026, one for 2027. And these are teams that are going to be going away from a parent club identity to a new team identity. And not super often that we hear about, well, I mean, I guess not crazy rare, but that we hear about one that's 2 years out. But next year, the Salem Red Sox will be rebranded. 2 years from now, the Syracuse Mets will be rebranded.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. There's not too much known right now, or that we can get into now. But both Syracuse and Salem are owned by Diamond Baseball Holdings. And, that's been a thing for every DBH team and other teams that aren't DBH to, move away from parent club identities. So we just see less and less and less and less of that as the years go on. That was obviously a trend that really got going in the early part of this century and just keeps going. So no more Salem Red Sox, no more Syracuse Mets. They will both retain those affiliations going forward. But yeah, Salem, these are the waning days of this team being called the Salem Red Sox. They will be a whole new identity next year while still playing as a Red Sox affiliate. So stay tuned for that. I imagine that'll be fairly early in the offseason because I'm pretty sure at this point they are close to having the T's crossed and the I's dotted and want to start promoting this new era of Salem, Virginia minor league baseball history. And I always feel like you have to remind people of the Salem Red Sox play in Virginia because people hear of a Red Sox affiliate playing in Salem and they think Massachusetts and start suggesting all the witch-themed team names and whatnot.
And also, it's Salem, Virginia in the Carolina League.
Yeah, in the Carolina
which is another loop that can throw people.
Yeah, and Salem, Virginia, not being that large of a town, city, but it is close to Roanoke, I believe, is the larger metro area, fairly nearby. But then, yeah, Syracuse. If you recall, Syracuse, they were a Nationals affiliate for a little while, and then the Mets bought them. The New York Mets bought Syracuse Mets, and there was even one strange year where they retained the Nationals affiliation while being owned by the Mets. Then after that affiliation agreement ended, they became the Syracuse Mets, owned by the New York Mets. This is in the Wilpon era. But now with MLB in control of the minors and major league clubs not feeling the need to have that control within the minor league system by owning the teams outright, the Mets sold the team to DBH, the Syracuse Mets to DBH. They will remain a New York Mets affiliate, but 2026 will be the last year of the Syracuse Mets. So obviously in Syracuse, like from 1934 all the way till they became the Mets, they were the Chiefs with a few years as the Sky Chiefs in there. So there's a huge history as the Chiefs, but I would be surprised if they went back to that, in this era. In the year 2025, I think they're probably going to be going for something new. Will it play on something unique to Syracuse? Will it still tie into the Mets affiliation? Will it be salt potatoes? Which I know
full-time salt
potatoes. I know some people would like to see. I went to Syracuse once where they played as the butter sculptures in honor of the literal butter sculptures at the New York State Fair, which is in Syracuse. I don't think they're going to butter sculptures full-time, but
it's too hot in the summer.
Yeah.
That's true. That is true.
You're just going to melt that butter. But there's definitely a lot of options between their affiliation, being a New York team who's a Mets affiliate, and being in a region of the country, that central New York region, with a lot of history. And we've learned about a lot of that history through Syracuse Mets promotions through the years, for my money. And this was one of the ones John Oliver highlighted in his segment that led to the Erie Moon Mammoths. But they played as the Devices.
Yeah, I was going to say, weren't they the Devices? Yeah.
in honor of the foot measuring device, the Brannick device that was invented in Syracuse. And everyone knows the Brannick device, even if you don't know it's called a Brannick device. So that's what I want to see full time 2027. The Syracuse devices, a minor league team named in honor of an iconic foot measuring tool.
Sam, was anything invented in Palmer? What would the Palmer team be renamed as
Uh,
if there was
I
one?
would 100% be the rail, something involving the railroads.
Okay.
We are the town of seven railroads, I want to say,
Oh, okay.
which you would know because of your time
My extensive
at
time
the.
there at all the diners,
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
hanging out at all
Yeah,
the
but I feel like in
friendlies and
Palmer,
yeah.
yeah, well, speaking of friendly, yeah, it would be more about like the character of the people, that good,
Yeah.
hearty New England stock. It'd be like the Palmer Samaritans or the, I don't
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
the Palmer uprights, because I think they're all quite morally
The
upright and
uprights.
wrong.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
The parking boot was invented by a Denverite. I feel like if we had a minor league team here, I would advocate for the boots. Like I'm sure there'd be a great you could
Yes.
like put a parking boot around a baseball. I think that'd be awesome. Okay, we have one more promotion to discuss. One promotional initiative by the Brooklyn Cyclones, and this is interesting because this required a lot of foresight and thought. And it involves Pete Alonso. But Ben, give us the parameters of what Brooklyn's come out with because this is not stuff that you can just turn around on a dime. And Brooklyn obviously had this in the works for a little while.
Yeah, well, as you probably know, Pete Alonso set the all-time Mets franchise home run record a couple days back. It had been 252 uh, by Darryl Strawberry. Pete Alonso hit his 253rd and 254th in the same game. And so the Cyclones immediately unveiled jerseys that they'll be wearing this Sunday for this Sunday's game, like the Pete Alonso Polar Bear Home Run King jersey, and it has the number 253 on it. I mean, he only had 253 career for a number of innings, but 253 was the number that he needed to set the Mets franchise home run record. So when a team announces something like this, immediate turnaround, both in terms of announcing the promotion and when they're going to wear it. They had to have done that many, many months ago to have that ready. So it's kudos to the Cyclones for saying, yes, there's no guarantees in life, but we think Pete Alonso is going to break this record. And once I assumed they waited till he re-signed with the Mets as a free agent, but once they knew he was coming back for 2025, they got in the works on that months in advance, had it sitting ready to go for this promotion on Sunday. And then they're also giving away a Pete Alonso He Did It bobblehead on Friday, which I thought was also like he did it. He set the Mets home run record, but Sam pointed out that's actually more of a reference to his postseason home run last year. What was that in the wild card series?
Against Devin Williams,
Yeah.
which I think may have been the moment in which Devin Williams kind of fell off. Anthony DiComo of MLB.com, of course, did a great story on that home run in the spring, sitting down with Pete Alonso to break down the at bat. And one thing he pointed out, Pete Alonso did was that Devin Williams changeup, which is obviously so good, the airbender. If he's going to throw it, he has to throw it into the other batter's box if you're a right-handed batter, because it's going to move so much arm side that it's going to have to come back across the plate. So once he saw a pitch going extremely outside, he knew that it was going to break back over the heart of the plate, and he knew to swing and drive it out to right field as he did there in Milwaukee. And now we've seen Devin Williams kind of struggle this year, now playing in New York for the Yankees. I'm not saying that's exactly what broke him, but that's just a theory of mine. But yeah, one of Pete Alonso's signature home runs, and they just happen to be giving out the bobblehead the week he breaks the record. So again, that's just really good foresight. But also, it's an opportunity, even if like Pete Alonso had signed in the offseason, elsewhere in the offseason, that's still a big homer for the Mets. It's still a
Right.
big homer by a Brooklyn Cyclone alum. And, people who go to Cyclones games likely love Pete Alonso and love knowing that he used to play there. His picture is still all up over Coney Island, as they celebrate former players there. So,
Yeah. I mean, so that He Did It bobblehead would have worked even if Alonso moved on, but now it
but
has
it's
like
the timing
almost
this week.
double
Yeah.
meaning. He did it. He hit that famous postseason home run, and he did it. He broke the Mets home run record. One more trivia question for you guys before we move on. Um, so now Pete Alonso is the Mets home run all-time home run leader. That is of the 30 active major league teams. That's 28th out of 30 in terms of the least home runs for a franchise leader. Do you know who was below the Mets in terms
I
of least
I
home runs for a
happened
franchise leader?
to be looking at a list as you were asking this, so I'm taking myself out of this running because I happen to be because I was thinking when Pete Alonso set the record, I was like, wait, really? There's been nobody with more home runs than that for the New York Mets? And like that is for a franchise that has such a long and, a varied but ultimately a storied history. It seemed like there should be somebody who had been around who had
Yeah.
swatted more home runs than
Well, at least hit 300.
253.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but like David Wright obviously never got there. Injuries ended him. Darryl
right.
Strawberry went elsewhere. Mike Piazza, maybe the most famous slugger in the team's history, hit a lot of his home runs elsewhere too. So I think it's just it's fascinating that it took somebody like Pete Alonso to just stay there for a long time to
Yeah,
finally do it. So the two teams below that,
yeah.
is it as simple as the Rays and Diamondbacks?
It
It
is not.
is
They're both below.
not. Uh,
Oh, no, 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 no,
no.
no, no.
One of
Yeah,
those is below.
one of them. Yeah, sorry.
The
You're right.
Which
D-backs,
That's
one?
them.
the D-backs are below, but the Rays are not. Evan Longoria hit 261 for the Rays. So,
Okay,
I
I
mean,
was
Pete
wondering if
Alonso
Longoria got there.
they will probably jump over the Rays and the Marlins maybe probably not by the end of this year. The Rays 261, the Marlins all-time leader is Giancarlo Stanton with 267. So like Pete Alonso with a very strong close to the season could lift the Mets above the Rays before the end of the regular season. But okay, so you got the D-backs. There's one other team. There's one other team like wildly behind the pack too. Like not even close. Um
Jeez.
yeah, we'll leave it at that for now.
Jeez. Okay. This is probably wrong. Is it the San Diego
It
Padres?
is
That's
the San
correct.
Diego Padres.
Okay, because I was thinking like who is the best hitter in team history? And it's Tony Gwynn, famously not a home run
Not
hitter.
a home run
And
hitter.
but I was trying to think of like
And then you
I don't
think like
know.
who else has hit
And
home runs for the San Diego Padres? Yeah.
yeah,
Do you want to venture
Dave
a guess as to
Parker
the all-time home run
there.
leader is in franchise history for the San Diego Padres?
Ugh. I, I don't know.
Well, I'll give it away with a clue. He's active
Yeah.
on the Padres.
Is it Manny Machado?
It is.
Yes.
I was thinking Manny Machado, but I'm like, it's
Is
got to
that
be
not
somebody
like
else.
stunning though? That like the San Diego Padres franchise leader has played 7 seasons in San Diego, one of which was the COVID season. And he's the all-time franchise leader. He has hit 187. No other franchise has fewer than 224 home runs for their franchise leader. Manny Machado, 187 with the Padres. That is wild. Which, they
Yeah.
play in a very pitching-friendly ballpark, obviously, where they have played for 20 years now. But yeah, again, it's a franchise that's been around for a minute. It's kind of surprising that nobody has stuck it out for a long time, swatting tons of home runs.
Yeah, and he passed their previous franchise leader last year, Nate. I want to say Colbert because like Stephen Colbert, Nate Colbert or
Oh
Colbert.
yeah, I think Colbert, right? Nate Colbert.
Colbert. Yeah,
Um,
that's Colbert.
and
Who hit
yeah,
163.
yeah, wild,
163 from 1969 through 1974.
wild,
With
man.
he hit 38 twice, and in those years, 38 home runs in 1970 and 1972. Those are big power numbers for that era. But yeah, it was Nate Colbert all the way until Manny Machado last year.
A fun fact about this list, and then we'll get off of this topic. But the all-time home run leader in baseball history does not lead any
Yes,
team. Barry Bonds does not lead the Pittsburgh Pirates, and he does not lead the San Francisco Giants. Willie
No,
Mays
okay.
is the Giants leader all time, and Willie Stargell is the Pirates leader all time. Pretty cool. Two teams in the top 10, by the way. That is a
yeah,
fun
the two
topic.
best Willies of all time.
That's a
It
very
is a
fun
fun
topic.
topic. I like to get down these rabbit holes. It reminds me of being a fan as a kid, just getting into all those little specific things.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. All of that is under the purview of one Ben Hill. You can find his work, of course, at MILB.com, and you can subscribe to the newsletter as well. And even though we have already remembered some dudes, Ben he'll join us coming up later as we name a guy, and we'll wrap things up. Thanks, Ben.
Yeah, it's been good bantering with you guys. This has been some Ben's Biz banter presented by Circle K.
The official convenience
Thank you.
store of minor league baseball. Well, I shouldn't just say goodbye to you, I guess, just yet, because we've got a conversation with you and Sam coming up anyway, as you headed to to check out something that's been going on with the Hudson Valley Renegades. Give us the preview of what's ahead.
A live original musical staged at a minor league baseball game? What? It happened. Hudson Valley Renegades, August 6th, staged Renegades the musical, largely on top of the dugout between innings. And this was something I wanted to attend. Unfortunately, Josh Jackson and I were in Altoona on August 6th for Awful Night. But if I hadn't been in Altoona, I would have been in Hudson Valley watching the first original musical staged in a minor league ballpark. So in lieu of having been there, wanted to find out more about it. We talked to the team broadcaster and Renaissance man, Joe Vasile, to learn more about Renegades, the musical.
You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
All right, Mr. Musical, so what do we do now?
Now, we sing the most romantic song I know. Renegades baseball, Renegades baseball. Everybody, let's go see the Renegades. Renegades baseball, Renegades.
This past Wednesday, August 6th, I believe it was, the Hudson Valley Renegades, high A affiliate of the New York Yankees, did something that had never been done, to our knowledge, at a minor league baseball game. They hosted a musical, an original production, Renegades the Musical, that took place between innings of an entire baseball game. And I really wanted to go see this. I wasn't able to, but I wanted to hear more about it. An original musical at a minor league baseball game. So here to tell us about it, Joe Vasile, voice of the Renegades, all-around Hudson Valley guy. Thanks for joining us, Joe.
No, thanks so much, Ben. It's great to sing the praises, and yes, pun very much intended of Renegades the Musical.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the first question that comes to mind, like the first question regarding a lot of promos, especially that haven't been done, is how did this happen? I mean, was it a pitch to the team from, does this guy, playwright and actor Dwayne Joseph Olson? Did the team have an idea and look for talent? I mean, how does a production like this come together?
So it was a little bit of us having this idea. In the past, we've done some musical theater nights where it's a lot of like, hey, we get some local actors out, they sing some show tunes and things like that. But we wanted to think of, could we do this a little bit of a different way? And working with someone to write us a musical essentially was something that was thrown out. And I have to give credit to my girlfriend, actually, who knows Dwayne. We were talking during the off season about some different promo ideas, and she was like, I bet you Dwayne would probably write something for you guys. And she reached out to him. He said, absolutely. And the ball just kind of got rolling from there. Once it became less an idea that was kind of thrown out as like, oh, wouldn't this be funny if, and now all of a sudden, here's somebody who can do it and is willing to do it for us. It really took off from there as a night. And, like you said, an opportunity to do something that nobody had really ever done, at least to the best of our knowledge, in minor league baseball before. And it was a really cool thing to see because, Dwayne is from this area. He's from a town just north of where we play, a town called Hyde Park. And so he grew up coming to Renegades games as a kid. He knew what we were about, and kind of our at times tongue-in-cheek humor about ourselves, and really helped to write a musical that, tugged on some of those, kind of sometimes typically corny musical tropes, while also having some of that tongue-in-cheekness that, has become part of the Renegades brand up here in the area. And it worked so well. And I was just, it was a lot of fun to watch it unfold from, last October when the idea was first being thrown about, up until last week when it was finally being performed.
Yeah, I mean, the long evolution. I think you announced it kind of late in the off season, but it was, in the works months before that. I've just been calling it Renegades the Musical. Did that end up to be the actual title, or what is this billed as specifically?
Yeah, it ended up being called Renegades the Musical.
And in a nutshell, Renegades the Musical, what kind of story does this tell, and how do you go about telling it when you're also playing a full 9-inning baseball game?
So it's a love story between the two protagonists in this are fictional employees with the Renegades. One is, somebody who works sweeping up, and another one is a food vendor. So he's going around doing this. And basically, when we went to Dwayne, we said, we need this to kind of take place between innings. So we've got these 90-second snippets basically to tell the story and kind of move it forward. It starts off with you meet the main male lead. He sings a song kind of about, all right, this is my summer job at the Renegades and all this. And then he sees an employee, Rascal, our mascot, dumps a bucket of popcorn during a fictional popcorn cam that happens in between innings. He sees this girl on the video board, falls in love, and then kind of the story unfolds from there until they ultimately kind of get together. I don't want to spoil too much of the plot points because I know we're clipping all of the in-between highlights and stitching them together, and it'll be up and able to watch on our YouTube relatively soon. So it'll be really good to see that, and then kind of tell the story there. And there's some different characters. There's a guy who actually Dwayne plays in the musical, who's based on one of our season ticket holders, but as the caricature of, this should just be baseball, kind of one of an older curmudgeonly guy. But again, our actual season ticket holder is not like that, I should say, but he thought that was kind of a funny, nice, like, tribute that he was written into it, and really tried to touch on a little bit of everything while also kind of moving it forward. I really commend Dwayne for being able to write it, and the performers for being able to execute it the way that they did. We had them record all of the songs, all of the dialogue beforehand, so we more or less they just lip sung during the actual performance to make sure that it would stay within the time frame and to try to take out some of the variables of things, and so it actually worked out pretty seamlessly with being able to continue to tell the story throughout the night.
And I know, obviously, you guys had this on the promo calendar. You guys were promoting this. You want people to come out to the ballpark. Did it seem like there were anybody who was surprised? Who was like, wait a second, is this happening live? Like, I know you're up in the booth, but as you're monitoring things, what did the reaction look like live as people realized they were basically in the musical?
You know what? It was so cool to see. I think a lot of people went into it thinking like, all right, what is this gonna be? And to an extent, I tried to stay as far out of some of the details of it because I wanted to be surprised as the night went on too, outside of a couple snippets of songs that I had heard beforehand. But it was really cool to watch the fans really get engaged in it. And, we're with a typical show, you've got, some applause points and stuff after songs. Here there was basically one built in every half inning that they were going out. So you would see them basically perform on top of the dugout or wherever they happened to be for that snippet. And then just a great reaction from the crowd at the end of all these songs. They got a standing ovation when they came out and did their curtain call at the end of the night. It was really cool to see people really get drawn into it and invested in it, right? Because like that's the big thing that you never know going into it is you think like, all right, we're going to do this. It's going to be great. But in between innings, people get up, they go to the bathroom, they go to the concessions line. Like, how well are people going to be able to stay engaged in the story and be with that? But at least what I noticed from up in the booth was it felt like in between innings, looking around at the crowd, people were pretty locked in on it, which was really great.
Yeah, and you were talking about the the instructions you gave to Dwayne in terms of like this is going to be in between innings. You have 90 seconds, all that kind of stuff. What other instructions did you give to him, or was it just like, here's how the structure needs to be, just go and come up with a story?
Yeah, we really gave him free reign for what to do. We had a couple of meetings throughout where it was like, hey, look, we want you to have fun with this, like go and be creative outside of that framework of just like, hey, we have these time constraints. We have this many inning breaks that, we have available to do this in. Outside of that, it was just like, if you want to poke a little fun, go right ahead. You want to do some, wink and nod stuff, like great. Like don't do anything that's going to be super embarrassing, necessarily, but don't go out there and make the whole thing about baseball is dumb. Like don't do that, which wasn't really a worry at all. But outside of that, we really, really kind of left it up to Dwayne to be creative and come up with the story. And he did an amazing job.
Of all the songs that were sung over the night, and again, not looking you to spoil it, but maybe as a tease for that YouTube video coming out, which one was your favorite?
Yeah, and feel free to sing.
Feel free to do a live rendition here.
Oh my goodness, the people will really be tuning out. But no. So one of the things that I thought was really great and kind of helped it at home was actually the last song of the night. After the protagonists, they get together. Now they're officially dating. The love story has kind of come to an end with a happy ending. They sing a song that is basically a love ballad version of an old Renegades advertising jingle, which, like, as I'm realizing that this is happening, like, I'm just starting to laugh upstairs because, like, I'm like, this is just so perfect. And so for me, like, that's the song that, like, really brought it home because now it's like it's the marriage of so many things into one. Like this is a jingle that we used probably 15 years ago and people still know and recognize, and so it's one of these things that, like, all right, if you are around the Renegades, you remember hearing Renegades baseball, like on the in our commercials, then you recognized it immediately in this song. And if you didn't, it's just like, oh, it's a really nice moment. But I thought that it was a great way to kind of tie in, who we are as the Renegades, a piece of our identity as a team and history in with this thing. And kind of having that be right at the end and at kind of a touching moment too. Weirdly enough, it just all worked so well.
So you mentioned you're putting together highlights right now of this show, and people can check it out on YouTube, or at least portions of it on YouTube. But a musical, if it's trying on Broadway or trying to get on Broadway, the word is you're trying to have a run. You're trying not just one and done. You're trying to make something of it. So does this have the possibility for a return engagement and or adaptation, to other teams or ballparks?
That's a great question. I know there's already the thought of perhaps a revival of the Renegades musical. I certainly think that it could work with other teams at ballparks too. Obviously we're lucky that we're 65 miles north of New York City, and so we've got a lot of really talented performers up here and people who are pursuing this as a career. Like Dwayne, who wrote this, was just named the best actor in the Hudson Valley this past year by the Hudson Valley magazine Best of the Hudson Valley Awards. So like he's really making a serious go at trying to be an actor, and a lot of the people in there also. So I think especially for teams that have kind of a a vibrant theater community around could definitely do something like this. Working at the local level and kind of using this as the framework to do something of their own. I thought that it was like, you always think about like, oh, this is so, how do we entertain people when they're here? Like this was just one of the best things I think for that we were able to try, and it was luckily a success, and I would love if every other team tried to do one of these.
Well, imagine that. Hundreds of baseball musicals all over the country. I mean, that's why we wanted to talk to you, not necessarily that it would catch on in a massive way, but it's tough over the course of a season to identify a promotion that's just like, whoa, no team has ever done this. So it's got to start somewhere. It started in Hudson Valley. You mentioned you don't really like to sing, but it does seem like in future potential musicals, the play-by-play broadcaster could be a character as well. Play-by-play the musical. Have you thought about moving along those lines? Or just a
Yeah.
musical broadcast, right?
Yeah, it's just I sing for 9 innings.
Yeah.
That would be something. It's interesting. Yeah, maybe next year it's there's a one-off song for the play-by-play broadcaster upstairs. We're just singing about talking to ourselves all night, and whatever else we're doing.
Can only imagine the amount of cough drops and tea you would need after a night of singing for 9 innings. Maybe in a doubleheader, or first half of a doubleheader, something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be good.
Yeah, so we wouldn't want to ask you to sing, but we do like the possibilities and the potential for this concept to go forward. So you heard it here first. The Hudson Valley Renegades did it first. Joe Vasile, broadcaster, play-by-play man. How do you like to identify yourself?
Renaissance man.
Yeah, of course.
man.
Yeah, no, there you go.
Yeah. Hudson Valley Renegades, Renaissance man. Thanks so much for coming on the podcast, and we hope to see more theatrical productions all across the country on the dugout roofs. That's what we're into now. So thank you very much.
Of course, thanks, guys.
Everybody, let's go see the Renegades.
Come to DSW for the shoes, stay for the fun. Because, let's be honest, if shoe shopping isn't fun, are you even doing it right? So go ahead, try something new. Try something different. Good different. Try something that feels like you. The real you. And then definitely brag about it later. Because at DSW, you've got unlimited freedom to play. Find the shoes that get you at prices that get your budget at DSW stores or at DSW.com. Let us surprise you.
Well, we are past the trade deadline. We're headed down the stretch of the minor league baseball season. And with that, we have re-ranks of farm systems across baseball and one of the superstar savants who does all of the re-ranking magic, Sam Dykstra, ready to talk about it. I know what an exhausting project this is every year. So you have it in the rearview mirror, at least for now. But re-ranks finally done. Post-deadline re-ranks out into the world, Sam.
They are out in the world, yeah. Post-deadline, post-draft. I think the draft is the biggest thing that a lot of people tend to focus on when we do these re-ranks. Where do the new draft picks fold in? Because at the deadline, and we talked about this before, at the deadline, we immediately put those guys on lists. So this isn't like, where will they land? You have a pretty good idea of where they'll land after they move between organizations. Draft picks are a different manner. How many are going to get on your favorite team's top 30? How many are going to get onto the top 100? And I think we have 12 this year, which is right in line with where it was last year. But if you look at draft debuts on the list, we have Ethan Holiday at number 17, fourth overall pick by the Colorado Rockies, was number one in MLB Pipeline's draft rankings going into the draft, so we don't change that up too much. He's at 17. Eli Willett's the number one overall pick to the Nationals is at number 18. And then it's Cade Anderson at 22, and you can go down the list from there. One thing I want to point out, and I actually did that this week on the MLB Pipeline podcast as well, is that sometimes people look at the draft rankings that we come out with, and by we, I mean Jonathan Mayo and Jim Callis. They do excellent work. They do a lot of legwork to put those together. But then the draft happens, and then we get more information, right? Like the way they do the draft rankings is that they come out with an initial list. They tweak it as the season goes along, as the spring comes up, as high school ball is being played, as college ball is being played. And then they continue to tweak it until we get to the draft 250. And then the draft happens. And then just as they do with all those other tweaks, we get more information. We find out why certain organizations did like some players, why they didn't like other players. And we factor that into these rankings as well. So it's not just taking the draft 250 and putting it into this and being like, oh, that's the end of the day. So Eli Willett's maybe not ranking as highly in the draft 250, but I know the Nationals think he was maybe the best high school hitter in this entire draft. And arguably the top prospect. We have him right there with Holiday. I think he's more likely to be at shortstop. It's just he doesn't have Holiday's power. He can switch hit. Holiday's a lefty hitter. We'll see how things go from here. But Willits is extremely young, only 17. He won't turn 18 until December. So we folded those guys in. But also as part of this, we redid every list. The top 100, brand new. It's not like a market corrections where we move guys up or down 10 spots. This is everybody has been revoted on. The team top 30s, completely fresh, not just like we did before the deadline with redoing the top 10 and then moving other guys up or down 10 spots. Everything is started from scratch here. There's been a ton of feedback, both internally from clubs, externally from other clubs, to hammer this out and try to get it to a spot. And the way I like to think of it is we are taking a snapshot of a race that is not completed. This is mid-season, right? These guys are still playing. They are still making adjustments. They are still tinkering with their stuff. They are still trying to improve their game before the end of the season. So if there's a breakout prospect who we have ranked at a certain spot, they're going to jump more in the offseason if they continue this for the final 4, 5, 6 weeks of the season. But as things stand right now, this is where we have them. So there are some pretty significant breakouts here, but let's just run through the top 10 real quick. I'll just name them off. Connor Griffin remains the number one overall prospect in the game, shortstop / outfield prospect for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Kevin McGonigal, shortstop for the Tigers, is number 2, arguably has the best hit tool in all of the minor leagues. Leo DeVries, the shortstop now for the A's, was included in the Mason Miller deal, and we talked a lot about that in the past. He's at number 3, just 18 years old at high A. He's been at high A all season long. Sebastian Walcott, infielder for the Texas Rangers, 6'4", 19 years old at Double A already, has a bazooka of an arm, has a lot of power in that frame, could only grow on it from there. Jesus Made, I've been a big fan of his for a while now, shortstop with the Milwaukee Brewers. He just got promoted to high A at only 18 years old. It's his first stateside season. Tons of bat speed. Hit a homer the other day. I think it was 107 miles an hour. It's just already exceptional performance so far for Jesus Made. JJ Weatherholt, first round pick of the St. Louis Cardinals last season. He's at AAA now. He might be banging it down the door to St. Louis before the year is out. The Cardinals actually talked about that the other day. Because they have such a big need to fill 40-man spots in the offseason, it wouldn't shock me if they held him back and didn't add him to the 40-man quite yet as they figure that out ahead of the Rule 5 draft. We'll see how things go. He may force the issue. Number 7 is Bubba Chandler, right-handed pitcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Somebody I thought was going to debut in the first half. I know he's been uneven of late for AAA Indianapolis, but the stuff is still exceptional with that fastball and changeup and some of his breaking pitches. I still expect him to be a big part of the Pittsburgh Pirates' future rotation plans. Samuel Basayo, catcher for the Baltimore Orioles, 21 years old at AAA, might be the best and most well-rounded hitter in all minor league baseball right now. And Max Clark at number 9, outfielder for the Detroit Tigers. He's with Kevin McGonigal at AA. Those guys have moved up in tandem this year, and rounding out the top 10, Andrew Painter, right-handed pitcher for the Philadelphia Phillies, 22 years old at AAA. We expected him to be up maybe in July as he was putting together a season coming off Tommy John surgery. That hasn't happened yet, but Dave Dombrowski obviously somebody who's always willing to trade prospects if it gets the right pieces back. Seems like he was not willing to let go of Andrew Painter. He's still a major piece of the future plans in Philly. So 6'7", 22 years old at AAA already. We'll see if he gets that call in the final weeks, maybe to help out of the bullpen, maybe to help that rotation as well, but he's knocking down the door as well. That is your new top 10 in MLB Pipeline rankings.
All right, Sam, you guys also re-ranked farm systems 1 through 30. And as we were talking before we started recording, it's really at this stage of the season, you can see tiers pretty clearly. TIERS. Wow, TEARS if you're talking about the Rockies. But for where systems sit right now, there is an upper echelon for sure, and then there are some groups that stack up behind them. Give us the overview of the re-ranked 30 systems in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, so we do this every preseason and then midseason when we do re-ranks. We come out with farm system rankings. And right now at number 1, we have the Los Angeles Dodgers, somebody who is exceptionally deep at the outfield spots between Josue De Paula, Zaire Hope, Eduardo Quintero, Mike Sirota. Those are just guys in the top 100. They also got James Tibbs and Ching Hsia-Sun Ko, who are another really good outfield prospects as well. I think they've got a pretty good pitching group. I know that they've dealt with some injuries, certainly, but getting Adam Suranowski technically from the Rays, I'm still not sure exactly how that worked, but there was basically a 3-way trade between the Reds, the Rays, and the Dodgers. And the Dodgers, who are not necessarily sellers at the deadline, still ended up getting him in a deal that sent Hunter Fiducia to Tampa Bay. And it's amazing how they do this, right? Like, I was talking to somebody about this the other day. Normally, we talk about the Rays, and when they acquire a player, it's like, oh, I love this trade for the Rays, right? That's a famous tweet that goes around. I love this trade for the Rays. Who'd they get?
Who'd they get?
Yeah. They do a tremendous job. I think that's a Sam Miller tweet. I want to make sure I get that right. But the whole point is that the Rays scout other organizations really well. And if they come asking for a prospect in a trade, they might be seeing something you don't. The Dodgers are basically there. Zaire Hope is somebody they got from the Cubs in the Michael Busch trade. Mike Sirota is somebody they got from the Reds in the Gavin Lux deal. James Tibbs is somebody they got from the Red Sox in the deal for Dustin May at the deadline. Now, James Tibbs is not top 100 like those other folks, but still they are adding talent to this system and making it deeper and deeper and deeper. And that's why we have them ranked at number 1. Minnesota Twins are at number 2. Obviously, some big names there: Walker Jenkins, Emmanuel Rodriguez, Luke Keeschel, who's done exceptionally well in the majors of late, Kalen Culpepper, their first rounder last year, who's jumped onto the scene, and then they were one of the big sellers at the deadline, adding guys like Eduardo Taiit, Mick Abel, obviously, in the Yohan Duran trade. So this is a group that's gotten exceptionally deeper, and it's got some upper echelon talent as well. Along that same tier, we have the Seattle Mariners at number 3, 9 top 100 prospects, but they were buyers at the deadline, trading away a lot of their prospects, going out and getting Eugenio Suarez, going out and getting Josh Naylor. But like getting somebody like Cade Anderson at the 3rd overall pick in the draft, that's pretty good. Like that's a big boon to this organization as well. So they're thriving here on top talent. If they had a little bit more depth, they would be number 1 or number 2 easily. It crumbles after that top 10. But that top 10 is still exceptionally good and gets them onto this top tier here. And then at number 4, we have the Milwaukee Brewers. Made, I talked about before. Luis Pena's up at high A with him. Cooper Pratt is an exceptionally good defensive shortstop at double A. Kind of needs the power to come around, but still a lot to like there. Jefferson Caro knocking on the door at triple A. Has dealt with shoulder injuries last year and then some hamstring stuff this year. And then Logan Henderson, who had an elbow scare earlier this month. Doesn't sound like it's going to be as scary as it initially did, but somebody who's been really, really good at the major league level, maybe a little bit less so at the AAA level, but somebody who's shown that he can be a big piece of Milwaukee's starting depth, and that's part of the reason why they're running off this run of 12 straight wins, right, at time of recording, and winning free burgers for the entire city of Milwaukee. It's because they continue to do this. They continue to plug really good players in when they have holes, like Caleb Durbin, who they got in the offseason last year, or Joey Ortiz, who they got from the Orioles, or Sal Frelick, Jackson Churio, these homegrown outfielders. They just keep on chugging, the Milwaukee Brewers do. They're, I think, maybe the best well-run organization in all of baseball, at least in terms of finishing guys off in the major leagues, but getting the right talent in the pipeline to begin with. So that's maybe the top tier, I would say. If you want to argue any of those 1 through 4, I won't stand in your way. And just to point out, Jacob Mizorowski graduated, so he doesn't factor into this for the Brewers. But it's a lot to take in. It's a lot to consider in terms of top talent, depth. Some teams are deep, but they don't have the really good players like the Tampa Bay Rays. I would put in that bucket now. Some teams have exceptionally good players at the top, but like the Seattle Mariners, it doesn't get so good there after the end. So balancing all of that, we tried to hammer it in the best way we could for the farm system rankings that just came out this week.
All right, Sam, before we wrap up this segment, a couple of big promotions in minor league baseball. The Chicago Cubs are reportedly calling up outfielder Owen Casey. We've talked about Owen Casey a good amount this season. He is their top prospect, number 45 overall. And the New York Mets are going to be calling up their number 3 prospect, Nolan McLean, the 37th ranked overall prospect in baseball. He'll make his major league debut on Saturday, getting the start against the Seattle Mariners.
Yeah, it's an interesting move by both teams, right? Because you look at what's happening to the Cubs and the Mets in the National League. Both of them right now, certainly in the running for wild card spots, but I think both of them thought that they were going to be in the running for division leads. And the Mets now sit 5 games back of the Phillies in the NL East. The Cubs sit 7.5 back of the Brewers. It's tough to keep track or keep in line when somebody's winning 12 straight, as the Brewers have done. But now they're turning to their prospects to kind of help out. And the Mets, by going to McLean, he'll start Saturday against the Mariners. One thing to watch out for there, he has one of the best sliders in all of minor league baseball. It's an absolute spin monster. You'll see it get around 3,000 RPMs. I think it averaged 2,800, but at its top level, get it around 3,000 with exceptional. It's a sweeper. It's going to get a lot of glove side sweep, and then he has a sinker that moves almost the same amount but goes to arm side. So you're thinking about a wide range of horizontal movement here for Nolan McLean. He's got a 4-seamer. He has a curveball that actually has even more spin than the slider. He just doesn't throw it a ton. He's also got a changeup that kind of keeps in his back pocket. He doesn't throw it in zone a ton. But I think since July 1st, Nolan McLean led AAA in strikeouts. So there was some debate internally. It sounds like Brandon Sproat or Nolan McLean. McLean's been more consistent, I would say, as the year's gone on. He was more lined up to start. I had reached out to a source earlier in the week to ask when Jonah Tong, who's also now at AAA, when would he start this week? And when would McLean start? And it sounds like Tong was going to go Saturday. McLean was supposed to go Sunday. Now McLean's going Saturday, but in Queens for the Mets. So watch out for that one. And Owen Casey also comes up extremely hot. Since July 1st, he's played 28 games, batting .349, slugging .708. He's got 10 homers, 8 doubles in those 28 games. The thing that pops more to me, with Owen Casey, we've always known that the power's there. And he's played AAA going back to 2024. I mean, he's got basically a year and a half of AAA experience already. The power has always been there for him, but the strikeouts have been a concern. He's struck out 19.7% of the time since July 1st. So he's severely cut down that strikeout rate. The curveball is the only pitch type that he's got a whiff rate above 35% in that span. So maybe, if you're a major leaguers, you're going to start spamming him with curves. We'll see how that goes. But it seems like he's improved against multiple pitch types. It's not just him feasting on fastballs or something like that. So the fact that he is making those strides in the area he most needed to led to this call up. How the Cubs are going to use him, we'll see, because they've had such a loaded outfield. That's part of the reason why he's been kept down all this time. But that's a really good, thunderous left-handed bat to at least have coming off the bench for the Cubbies as they try to get, I'm not going to say back in the NL Central race. I think that's probably too far gone at this point, but at least, they hold the top spot in the wild card right now. They're holding off the Dodgers and the Mets and the Reds, maybe the Cardinals. So use all the help you can get over these final few weeks.
And that is the latest and greatest news from Sam Dykstra. Coming up, we will say goodbye on this week's episode of the show before the show, but not before we name that dude. It's all ahead after the break.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
We're getting ready to say goodbye on this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. But before we do, it is time for the return of Name That Dude, the game show craze that has swept the globe. Each week, one of us picks a dude of baseball years past, and the other two try to guess that dude. Sam Dykstra is the dude knower this week. Take it away, Sam.
All right, my dude this week was a second-round pick by the San Diego Padres. So a little bit of podcast magic. We just wrapped up
Nate
that conversation
Colbert
from the first segment.
Yeah, that's my guess.
It's not
Nate
Nate
Colbert.
Colbert.
Oh, dang it.
Settle down. Wait for some other
All right,
details.
fine.
Manny Machado.
He was taken. Manny Machado wasn't drafted by the Padres.
Oh yeah, but he's on the Padres. Touche.
This guy was drafted by the San Diego Padres in the second round of the 2005 draft. He was selected out of the University of Tennessee. That's where our journey begins. Then in 2005, he played in both the Northwest League, then a Class A short season league, and the Midwest League, then a single A team, with the Eugene Emeralds and the Fort Wayne Wizards.
Wizards.
2005. He only got 4 games with the Wizards, 16 plate appearances, very late season cameo. 2006.
He was only there for a spell.
He was only there for a spell. Good job, Ben. 2006. He moves up to the California League. It's a little bit different than we do things nowadays, which was a high A affiliate. He goes to Lake Elsinore, the Lake Elsinore Storm. Spends all of 2006 with the Lake Elsinore Storm. Plays 129 games there, hits 12 homers, 33 doubles. I guess I didn't say whether he was a position player, but you can guess that now. Batted .291 with an .823 OPS. Goes on to the Arizona Fall League. That fall, his age 22 season, plays for the Peoria Saguaros, not the Surprise Saguaros, the Peoria Saguaros. 2007, goes to San Antonio with the Missions. So a lot of these are like existing Padres affiliates for a long time now.
Yeah.
2007, 121 games with the San Antonio Missions, hits 20 homers that year, bats .330, has a .1016 OPS, and makes his major league debut, gets 8 games in with the Padres in 2007. 2008, spends much of the year with Portland in the Pacific Coast League, the Portland Beavers, obviously no longer existing, AAA affiliate. 65 games with them and 91 games with the Padres. Pretty much spends the rest of his career in the major leagues, some minor rehab assignments here and there. He's with the Padres from 2007 until 2014, joins the Yankees in 2014, stays with them through 2017, and then gets one final year with the Padres in 2018, his age 34 season. This is a guy who finished in the top 5 of the NL MVP voting once, never again featured in NL MVP voting. That was in 2012. That same year, he won a Gold Glove Award and a Silver Slugger. He led the National League in RBIs that year with 115 and also hit a career best 31 homers. He never had more than 14 homers in a season beyond that 2012 campaign. Any guesses?
Oh,
This is a third baseman.
This is a third baseman.
And I believe that it is. There are 2 guys who are in my head. And I am pretty sure that I know who is whom here. And weirdly enough, they both have Colorado ties.
This guy definitely does.
I
Yes.
believe it is not Kevin Kuzminoff, who went to high school in Colorado. I believe it is Chase Headley.
It is Chase Headley.
Good
That
one.
is correct.
The Yankees thing clinched it for me. I was like, all right, that's yeah, Chase Headley.
So the one thing that made me think of Chase Headley was I was like, well, let me look up some leaders for the Padres all time.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about. They don't really. The thing is, Chase Headley not even in the top 10 in home runs for the Padres all time. He hit 73 in his 9 years with the Padres, 31 of which came in that 2012 season. And in 10th place is Ken Caminiti with 121. So Chase Headley, I think of somebody who was around San Diego for a long time. Obviously, a very strong player. Outside of that outlier 2012 year, was mostly like a 3 to 4 win player, which is very solid. And you can see why the Yankees went out and got him. Never quite met those heights in the Bronx. Never had an OPS plus above 100. So not as good with the stick with the Yankees as he was with the Padres. But I always thought of him as a solid third base type, somebody around top 10 in the league at that position.
I always thought of him as the guy who's not Chase Utley, because it was just
Chase Headley. Yeah, that is true.
The weird rivalries we come up with in our head, where like, there's another National League infielder with the name Chase.
Yeah.
These guys must hate each other.
And 2 syllables ending in Lee.
Yeah.
So it was pretty similar. Yeah, I always assumed they hated each other and they glowered each other when they played each other. And Tyler, because you mentioned Kevin Kuzminov, I'm contractually obligated to just point out that Kevin Kuzminov hit a grand slam on the first pitch he ever saw in the major leagues, which is the greatest accomplishment I can imagine. Like, just to have this moment in time where your batting average is 1,000, your slugging is 4,000, your OPS is 5,000. It's literal perfection. You cannot exist at a higher plane of baseball existence than it.
Another guy who did that was Daniel Nava.
Oh yeah, he did.
In case anybody remembers that was back in 2010. I remember covering that game from home and writing about it for weei.com, and I just got some quotes back and hearing about like, oh, like Daniel Nava, he's a really interesting story. He signed out of the independent leagues. Hopefully he makes something of his career. And first pitch, grand slam into the bullpens at Fenway Park. And Joe Castiglione told him, always swing at the first pitch of your major league career, because they don't know what to do with you yet. And they're just going to throw you a fastball and bang. So take that advice, future major leaguers.
Yeah, future major leaguers.
Get in there and swing it. Even if a balk was called, swing anyway.
Swing anyways.
Now
Let's
we
bring
know.
this episode right
know.
back around to the beginning.
I like it. Well, good stuff, and a terrific selection for this week's episode of Name That Dude. And that'll do it for this week's edition of the Show Before the Show podcast. You can get in touch with us, of course. Again, podcast at MILB.com. Any of your questions as we near the end of the 2025 season. And for Sam Dykstra and Benjamin Hill, my name is Tyler Maughan. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next week.